What if the bravest souls among us aren't the big, bold personalities who live life on the edge, but rather those who remain quietly hidden, nursing past battles behind thick walls of age and experience? Imagine a storm cloud rolling over a nondescript farmhouse-one that stands defiant against the passage of time, little knowing that today it is about to become the epicenter of conflict. This is a tale that gradually unfolds into chaos when a biker gang-harbingers of anarchy, with a disdain for authority, decides to exact their version of justice on a lone old man, unaware that the frail exterior they see is merely a façade. Picture a vast expanse of land, where corn sways gently in the summer breeze, the sun dipping low in a sky brushed with hues of orange and violet. It's peaceful, tranquil, yet that serenity is about to be shattered. The farmhouse itself, a relic of another time, stands resolute, its peeling paint whispering stories of its past. Inside, the air buzzes with the scent of fresh coffee and old books. An old man named Samuel sits in a worn leather chair, the dim light accentuating the rugged lines etched into his face. He's not simply waiting for the end of days. No, he's waiting for a moment. Little does he know, the thunderous roar of motorcycles, coupled with the wild laughter of reckless men, is approaching. A gang of bikers, fueled by adrenaline and a need to assert their dominance, rides hard down the dirt road, kicking up dust like a squadron of wild horses. They embody a twisted version of freedom, unmoored from the moral foundations that guide more civilized souls. But there is a psychological weight to their bravado. Their defiance is not unlike what many in society feel. It suggests that hierarchies exist in all social structures, and these bikers, in their minds, believe that the disruption they cause elevates their standing in a chaotic world. As the roar diminishes, a palpable tension fills the air. The gang, 6 men strong and armed with bravado and bravado alone, dismount, the dust clouds settling like heavy fog around them. Clad in leather, they stride toward the farmhouse with a combination of swagger and sheer recklessness, convinced their stature intimidates anyone who crosses their path. They know no fear, only the gaping maw of reckless abandon. They knock on the battered door, their laughter rippling through the air like a sinister melody. Each knock counts down not just to a moment of confrontation, but becomes an abstract metaphor for their insatiable urge to break into the lives of those they consider weak. They've dismissed Samuel as simply an old man, frail and inconsequential, a relic of a bygone era, yet they could not be more mistaken. Within, Samuel hears the raucous demands for entry. Each resonating slam against the door is not merely an invitation for confrontation. It's a jarring reminder of his own age, a persistent knowing that he's a sage just one step from solitude. As a retired U.S. Army commander, he understands the complex layers of aggression and the psychology behind it. But today, his military past might just become his present, a last stand against a reality where experience is often undervalued in favor of youthful arrogance. Time stretches thin as he rises from his chair, careful yet determined, each step forward crackling with the tension of a rubber band pulled taut. He experiences that strange interplay of fear and courage, the kind that soldiers know all too well, stretching the elastic between them until it snaps with an exhilarating rush of adrenaline. In the minds of the bikers, what waits behind that door seems almost like a glaring neon sign, pulsating with promise. To them, it isn't just a farmhouse. It's a prize waiting to be claimed, an entity rendered vulnerable by the immense weight of age and frailty. But anyone with a keen mind knows that appearances can be deceiving, and that's especially true for men made of sheer grit and valor. Samuel, with his military background affording him insights into the human psyche, realizes that dominance is a game, a psychological dance of sorts. He understands that predators often reveal their own weaknesses when they think they're in control, and here lay the biker gang, predictably violent, yet painfully unaware of the storm brewing inside him. So Samuel does something unexpected. Instead of swinging open the door with an exuberant flourish, he grips the edge of his memories and his running thoughts tighter. He collects the past, pieces held together by diplomacy, command, and survival. He calls on the years spent negotiating with adversaries, the tactics honed on battlefields where the stakes were high, and the minds he had once aligned with allies instead of adversaries. This, after all, is not merely a confrontation, it's a matter of strategy. As he finally opens the door, the bikers spill into the entryway, uninvited and unceremonious. So confident in their superiority, they swagger forward, muscles flexing and leather creaking. There's something deeply ironic about that comment, echoing the age-old adage, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." They believe they possess the power, the physical might, but all they hold in this moment is a glaring misunderstanding. Samuel stands at the threshold, his eyes scanning each man. He notices the twitch of their muscles, the glint in their eyes saturated with bravado, but more importantly, he notices fear lurking just beneath their bravado. It's like a peacock, flaunting its feathers. Deep down lies a small, frightened bird yearning for acceptance. This psychological insight reflects the foundational principles of human behavior and leads Samuel to a realization. Strength isn't always about brute force. Sometimes it's a mental game, an intricate chess match between predator and prey. Quite the motley crew, Samuel states, a confident calm imbued in his tone. His voice has a weight to it, a reverberation gathered from years of respect and authority. His words nestle delicately between feigned naivety and challenging might, an implicit menace threading through conversational normalcy. The bikers falter, momentarily disarmed by the old man's steadiness. They expected fear, perhaps a cowering figure at their mercy, not this commanding presence. It's a moment that plays out like a chess game caught in a standoff, pawns poised but unsure of the next move. The leader recoils slightly, adjusting his attitude as if trying to regain the upper hand. But Samuel can see the subtle shift. Power is not only about presence, it's also about perception, a psychological phenomenon confirmed by studies into social anxiety and group dynamics. One member of the gang scoffs, trying to alleviate the tension by flexing muscles and laughing at a poorly timed joke. Laughter, while often a tool for bonding, can also serve as a mask. It is an age-old defense mechanism known to anthropologists. It creates a facade of strength, an attempt to control the perceived chaos. Yet, Samuel's insightful eyes take everything in. He's aware that laughter can also be a double-edged sword, a cover for insecurity. These guys think they're the kings of the road, he muses inwardly, watching as they exchange uncertain glances. And just like that, the balance of power teeters, shifting in a moment's notice. Samuel leans against the doorframe, an embodiment of calm defiance, unknowingly echoing a multitude of stories written throughout history, elder warriors standing resolute against evolving threats. In ancient times, military leaders would use psychology as a weapon, tapping into the minds of their opponents, understanding that confidence can be the most potent form of warfare. Listen closely, Samuel continues, determination glimmering behind the softness of his voice. This is my home. The leader steps forward, his bravado wavering slightly under the stare of grit and wisdom. This old man is no ordinary opponent. There is a spine of steel behind those gentle, yet piercing eyes. It is the steel that has endured years of adversaries. It is relentless, forged in the fires of past battles. The thread is laced with a palpable desperation, a final attempt to reclaim what little confidence they possess. They are desperate to maintain the facade of menace, pushing back against the encroaching realization that this elderly man represents something far more daunting than they imagined. The air thickens with the weight of words unspoken, a tension crackling between the two eras, the careless abandon of youthful rage and the steadfast resolve of an experienced warrior. As Samuel stands illuminated by the fading light, the very fabric of this confrontation shifts, leading everyone involved to ponder one inescapable truth. Sometimes, the battles you fight are not merely physical. They are emotional, psychological, and existential. The looming question remains, will this old man, cloaked in the shadow of his past, outsmart these chaotic souls fueled by an unfounded sense of superiority? Or will these reckless riders, in their youthful folly, break down the very fortress he has built around his solitary existence? The answer lies not just in the clash of fists, but in the deep understanding of who truly holds the power. As Samuel stands ready to confront his past, the line between predator and prey begins to blur. And deep down, where courage battles fear, the next move could change everything. What happens when the stormy seas of bravado collide with the quiet strength of wisdom? Picture this: a lone farmhouse, nestled in a vast expanse of rolling hills, its facade weathered yet resolute. Inside, the man who calls it home represents a lifetime spent navigating storms of an entirely different nature. Unbeknownst to a band of misfit bikers revving their engines on the nearby dirt road, this unassuming elder harbors the scars of battle, both on the battlefield and in the intricate theater of life. A gang of 6 leather-clad bikers, all bravado and adrenaline, are roaring across the winding road, each motorcycle a thunderous weapon of rebellion, each man a walking embodiment of chaos. The leader, tattooed and brimming with misplaced confidence, lets out a primal scream as they barrel down the dirt path toward the farmhouse. Army commander, an expert in strategy and psychological warfare. As the gang nears the farmhouse, the dust kicked up beneath their wheels seems to swirl almost ominously, blotting out the serenity of the sunset. There they are, men defined by their search for freedom, yet trapped in a maze of their own making. Their laughter is raucous, layered with a harsh sarcasm that tells a telling story of bravado masking insecurity. Social psychologist Henry Tajfel's social identity theory suggests that they cling to their group identity, forming an alliance fueled by mutual disdain for established order and effort to elevate themselves by tearing others down. The farmhouse comes into view, its rustic charm standing in stark contrast to the chaos of the gang. The gentle wind whispers through the cornfields, yet the tranquility is disrupted by the impending storm. Huddled inside, the old man, Samuel, cradles a cup of coffee, its warmth melting into his calloused hands. He glances toward the window, sensing the malevolence creeping in like shadows stretching at dusk. Years as a commander taught him to discern subtle changes in the atmosphere. In the field, you learn to read people, their intentions and their weaknesses. Every minor shift, the way a soldier's gaze drops, or how a partner clenches a fist serves as insight into what's to come. This moment feels eerily familiar. Instinctively, he can feel the weight of aggression outside their threshold, and with it, a daunting realization. Today, the chaos won't pass him by. As the bikers dismount their roaring machines, Samuel's mind races, a tactical assessment of the approaching threat. Each biker, though outwardly indomitable, reveals tiny tells: the twitch of a muscle, the sidelong glances shared among them. Self-assuredness is often a mask that shields vulnerability. Their laughter, a cover for insecurity, echoing the findings of psychologist Paul Ekman, who delved into the complexity of human emotions. Behind their bravado, Samuel senses trepidation, fragile egos unwilling to confront their realities. When the leader pounds on the farmhouse door, the sound reverberates through the air like a distant drum signaling the onset of war. "Hey, old man," he booms, inflected with an arrogance that belies deep-seated fears of inadequacy. It's a declaration that emphasizes not only their intent but their need to be seen as dominant, as if claiming the space they stand upon secures their positions within a hierarchy they desperately wish to adhere to. Samuel waits, calculating every second that passes. It's not just a law of patience, it's the principled wisdom of a veteran meeting chaos with calm. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that energy tends toward chaos, just like these bikers, losing control over their own self-worth as they chase the thrill. But Samuel has long found strength in the eye of the storm, and today he merges that past experience with an almost zen-like clarity. "I'm coming," he calls out, his voice steady, lifting the weight of years spent commanding respect. With the air thickening, he stands, steel-threaded resolve guiding his movements. This is not just a confrontation, it's an opportunity for an understanding where predator and prey converge, revealing layers of exposure that neither side anticipated. When he swings open the door, the sunlight breaks through the darkness, illuminating his weathered face. A mantle of quiet authority cloaks him. The bikers stagger slightly, caught off guard by the man before them. Yes, they expected frailty in the shell of an elder, but underneath lies the mind of a warrior trained and honed to withstand the thickest of pressures. The leader, momentarily taken aback, meets Samuel's sincere yet unwavering gaze. "Old man, we just want to talk," he asserts, trying to reclaim lost momentum while disregarding the wisdom draped in Samuel's calm demeanor. Concealed anger masked as bravado doesn't deter Samuel. Rather, it unveils the psychological complexities bubbling beneath the surface. During his years of service, countless adversaries exhibited a similar facade, puffing out chests in defiance while inwardly grappling with the storms of their soul. Samuel echoes, curiosity piqued. He's seen many forms of communication in his life, and words like these often cloak another intent, one that seeks entitlement through intimidation. Talking should be free of threats. The questions hang in the air, layered with a psychological tension that shifts the ground beneath the bikers' feet. They came expecting an easy target but unknowingly stepped into the arena of a master combatant, one who understands the chessboard of human interaction. This isn't merely about who holds the greatest physical prowess, but about bending consciousness through strategy, revealing truths more impactful than mere violence. The bikers hesitate. The confidence they rode in on begins to crack, glimmering with fissures they cannot hide. Samuel senses the power dynamic shifting. Within that dim threshold, the harmony of fear and courage dances like shadows in flickering candlelight. In the lap of power, people often forget. Strength does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers, waiting for the right moment to provide clarity. "Listen, old man," the leader growls, grit spilling through his teeth. And there it is, the voice breaking, the aggression revealing vulnerability. When fear surfaces in ways thicker than pride, those with courage often adapt. Samuel leans back slightly, body language oozing a nonchalant ease. "And what is this? Are we discussing freedom, conflict?" The gang members look at each other, unease creeping in as their leader's bravado begins to falter. Samuel senses that with every syllable he utters, the undercurrent of dread threatens to sweep them away, challenging their core beliefs about power and dominance. This moment is more than mere posturing. It is a profound psychological examination of the human condition. "Out here, we define our own freedom," the leader states through clenched teeth, daring to uphold the image they've constructed. But deep down within, there lingers the unwitting realization that they are nothing without the facade. Samuel knows this game, while manipulating perceptions and shaping reality, can often feel like a high-stakes poker match, where revealing too much can force a player out of the game entirely. Samuel's eyes gleam with a wisdom amassed over the years. What you're clinging to is not freedom, it's chaos, a need to exert control over others in order to feel secure in your own existence. Each word strikes like a well-placed arrow, finding their mark in the psychological vulnerabilities of those who thought themselves untouchable. With that, the gang, unmoored by Samuel's insights, stands on the precipice. The atmosphere grows thick with tension, each biker feeling the roots of their identity shaken, the polished exteriors cracking. This raises the question of social validation, how a man's significance is measured by confidence and aggression. In psychological terms, their dominance is merely a response to long-born insecurities manifesting in misguided quests for validation. They're not just warriors of the road, they're fragile beings, tethered to their perceptions. The leader bellows, desperately lashing out to regain control. Servile ideals unraveled, they momentarily forget that aggression often reveals a proverbial Achilles heel. The other bikers glance back at their leader, witnessing the unraveling of their collective bravado. "Have you ever considered what would happen if you were to stand down?" Samuel's voice is calm, no longer demanding but instead inviting introspection. It's as if he's gently nudging them toward understanding, challenging the norms that define their roles as men. There lies the crux of Samuel's power. He listens in ways they struggle to understand. With each passing moment, the volatility of both thought and action quickens. The gusty winds whisper fates long intertwined as tribal instincts battle the foundations of societal norms. The leader stands paralyzed in the doorway, the dim light highlighting his clenched fists and quivering jaw. Within him brews a storm not manufactured by the turmoil outside, but one cultivated within the struggle to reconcile who he is against the monster he pretends to be. What about the heart beneath all that leather and ink? It's a conflict few dare confront, yet Samuel stands poised, ready to uncover the truth waiting just beneath the surface. Samuel questions, anchoring them deeper into introspection. And with that, the ground beneath them begins to shift, bending them toward an unseen reckoning, like two armies standing face to face, staring down the echoes of their own histories. Samuel recognizes the delicate grip they hold over their fate. He's a sage at the crossroads, where fear meets courage, where the past collides with the future, inviting all players to the game of life, one that is far more significant than mere conflict. As twilight descends, chaos and calm coexist, knitting a chaotic tapestry of humanity's variables. The winds outside howl, echoing the disarray of souls caught in their own turmoil. Samuel stands resolute, attuned to the rhythm of confrontation, feeling the electricity in the air, the charge of potential igniting under the surface like a smoldering ember waiting for a spark. But what comes next? Will these misguided bikers, trapped in their self-imposed labyrinth of anger and monolithic dreams, choose to engage further in confrontation, or will they discover some semblance of truth hidden beneath the layers? A standoff looms in the shadows, each moment pregnant with potential, teetering on that precarious edge between conflict and resolution. Here lies a chance for transformation, where the past might offer salvation, or where the present could descend into an entirely new realm of chaos. And as that tension reverberates through the air, a question lingers, hanging like a darkened cloud. What will they ultimately choose? What if the most unassuming figure in the room turned out to be the strongest ally or the fiercest adversary? Picture this: a lonely farmhouse nestled amidst sprawling fields, where whispers of the wind dance through corn stalks like memories of battles past. Inside, an elderly man sits comfortably, sipping coffee, the weight of history resting on his weary frame. Outside, however, the thunderous roar of motorcycle engines signals an impending storm, a biker gang, wild and reckless, approaching with the confidence of youth and the lacking wisdom of experience. Army commander, an architect of strategy and a warrior hardened by the fires of conflict. As the bikers approach, their raucous laughter fills the air, intermingling with the rustling leaves, a dissonant blend of chaos and tranquility. Each member of this gang, clad in black leather and inked skin, embodies rebellion. They thrive on the thrill of intimidation, often bolstered by a collective identity outlined in social psychology. Groups define themselves against others, creating in-groups and out-groups, but inside this ironclad unit lies a fragile web of insecurity beneath the bold facades. While Samuel, the old man inside, senses this volatility, it's not a new sensation for him. Over decades of military service, he learned to read intentions, decode behaviors, and predict outcomes. The impending confrontation feels uncomfortably familiar, a rehearsed play staged numerous times yet never quite the same. He leans back in his chair, allowing the afternoon light to dance over his weathered face, contemplating a life spent in service, both to his country and to humanity's deeper understanding. In both laughter and crude banter, the bikers reveal their psychological vulnerabilities, spurred on by what they perceive as power. They think themselves invincible, fueled by the cohesion present in their group dynamic, a nerve-wracking testament to social validation, something we're all familiar with. They believe that by banding together, they elevate their social status, but the reality is that this very cohesion often masks fear. With each rev of the engine, Samuel reflects on the unpredictability of the human spirit. It's like a double-edged sword. Yes, it can cut through barriers, but it can also leave irreversible wounds. And now, as the bikers rev up for a confrontation, this old commander knows that they are preparing not for battle, but for an awakening. As they reach the front porch, he can hear the venom in their voices, and though fear lingers in the air, it's mingled with that foolish audacity that young blood often brings. "Hey, old man, open up!" The gang leader bellows, his voice a brash instrument strumming across the tranquility. Each knock is a challenge, a declaration of dominance meant to remind Samuel of his supposed fragility. On the other side of the door, Samuel pauses. The old man's heart isn't raced. Instead, it beats in rhythm with the tenacity of who he used to be. After decades of preparation, one thing stands clear. He's not about to cave in to bravado wielded by mere children in adult bodies. He rises from his chair, the wooden floor creaking underfoot, a subtle reminder that age is but a number, and experience always trumps arrogance. With deliberate strides, he approaches the door, reflecting on the psychological gamesmanship he's about to engage in. It's a common thread among soldiers to understand and adapt. Samuel embodies this in every fiber of his being. In the theater of the mind, knowing your opponent is half the battle, he murmurs to himself. Finally, with the calmness of a man who has faced adversity before, he opens the door to the gang standing there, imposing yet foolish in their collective bravado. The leader's smile falters momentarily. He'd expected an easy target, a frail old man, perhaps a relic of the past. Instead, he finds a man who carries the weight of history in his gaze, one that cuts deeper than any dagger. "I'm here," Samuel states simply, a single phrase that throws the bikers momentarily off their game. The openness of his demeanor contrasts sharply with the gang's palpable tension. It's like when a group of bullies finds themselves face to face with their intended victim, only to discover that this isn't someone they can push around. "Listen, old man," the leader growls, attempting to re-invoke authority. "You're gonna tell us where you keep your valuables, and then we'll be on our way." It's an ultimatum flavored with desperation, and endangered species clinging to survival in a world they cannot control. But Samuel leans against the doorframe, grounding himself in the moment. This is where psychology becomes an art. He knows he must wield words like a sword and wield them wisely. Every conflict, he reflects, is essentially a negotiation masquerading as a fight. "You've made a long journey into someone's home, and I find that fascinating," he replies, his voice steady and unfaltering. The bikers aren't ready for Samuel's composure. They expected fear, cowering awe, not this impenetrable calm. And therein lies a fundamental truth about human psychology. Fear spreads like wildfire, but so does confidence. In that moment, Samuel becomes a mirror reflecting their own insecurities back at them. "Let me ask you something," he continues, shifting the dynamics yet again. "What is it that drives you?" There's an underlying challenge in his voice, one that the bikers can feel simmering. It's not just a confrontation, it's a philosophical inquiry cloaked as a bout of defiance, turning the tables in ways they hadn't anticipated. The leader, visibly rattled, snarls, "We're not here to play games, old man." But deep down, the others are questioning. They are searching for certainty in the chaos, and Samuel, with each breath, is leading them toward introspection, the very essence of transformation. He replies, growing more confident with every beat. "You make demands and I stand here, a physical embodiment of resistance. This is nothing less than a chess match, my friends, where every move counts." Internal conflict brews amidst the bikers. Tension flickers like electric currents in the air. Each member stands as a pawn with their own vulnerabilities laid bare, longing not just for material gain, but for understanding and acceptance. Psychologists often explore the idea of the false self, the mask people wear to fit into societal clothing. As they look into Samuel's eyes, they are confronted by the fact that their chosen identities are merely crafted by layers of fear. "Maybe we're not after what you think," a softer voice from the gang murmurs, one that breaks through the hard exterior. It's a voice suffocated by chaos, barely breaking free from the tumult within. Samuel seizes the moment, sensing the crack in their armor. "Ah, there it is," Samuel smiles, intrigued. Underneath the bravado and the leather jackets lies a search for something more meaningful, doesn't it? The truth of his words hangs in the air like a spell cast upon them. The leader shifts uncomfortably, and Samuel can see the threads of their sense of identity unraveling, slowly guiding them toward a collective vulnerability, begging the question of their integrity and purpose. Desperation like that does not occur in a vacuum. It stems from societal pressures, yearning for acceptance, and often a fear of invisibility. But with each word, Samuel weaves a narrative that transcends the material conflict, digging deeper into the psyche of these men. They may have come for confrontation, but Samuel is offering them an opportunity for revelation, a chance to wake up from their own manufactured nightmares. Yet just then the leader interjects, "What's your angle, old man?" His words are charged with defiance, but underneath, a layer of doubt crackles. Samuel can smell the fear masked in aggression. It's primal, instinctual, and revealing. Samuel replies, unfazed by the taunt, "This isn't about charm, it's about recognizing the choices we make. You came here believing you could break into a stranger's home, demand valuables, and walk away unscathed. But you're losing sight of yourself in the process." Those words choke the air. A tension builds on the threshold of the farmhouse as if the world outside pauses. The sun itself seems to hold its breath. Samuel feels it, that electric moment where hope wrestles against despair. It's the moment where epiphanies are conceived and reality shifts. The bikers, caught in a web of confusion, looked to one another. They had come as conquerors, yet the fears and insecurities they harbored had morphed into something far larger in their minds. They are not just a gang of misfits. They represent the conflicting tensions of society rebels chasing purpose, while shadows of doubt dance behind them. Samuel presses on, satisfied that the battle of wills has taken a new form. The general understands that engagement is key. What began as an act of aggression has transformed into a psychological standoff, compelling each biker to face themselves. "You stand at a crossroads," he states earnestly. "You've the power to choose something different." But just as clarity begins to dawn, the emotional weight feels too heavy for the leader to bear. In a surge of rage, he barks, "Shut up." His outcry is a desperate attempt to reassert control, but it reveals just how precarious that control truly is. In realizing their vulnerability, the bikers grapple with their individual identities. Samuel watches the shift unfold, knowing that in every confrontation lies the possibility of redemption or despair. The irony manifests. While the bikers sought to impose chaos, they might very well be on the brink of discovering what it means to reclaim their humanity or to spiral further into a void of desperation. Time stretches like the shadows lengthening across the farmhouse, placing each life at a tipping point. Samuel may have invited conflict, but now he is ushering forward change, demanding integrity from those who least expect it. Each moment builds towards an unknown climax, where choices intersect and transform roads into new paths. "So," Samuel allows, leaning forward slightly, "what shall it be?" His question emerges not as a challenge but as a plea for introspection, an opportunity for the bikers to surrender their misapprehensions and embrace the chance to redefine themselves. But just as they wrestle with self-discovery, the wind outside howls, carrying with it a gust of uncertainty, a foreshadowing of what is yet to come. Because change is always daunting, especially when one stands on the precipice of their particular chaos. And this old man is about to discover whether the storm outside will scatter the bikers or lead them towards unexpected, transformative solutions. And there it resides, the question lingering in the air, shrouded in possibility. In the face of an unexpected reckoning, will they rise or fall? Will they harness the potency of their own frailty or succumb to the violence within? Time is running out, and the next move could reshape their lives forever. What if the greatest threat didn't come from strength or numbers, but from the subtle resolve of a single, underestimated soul? Picture a remote farmhouse, isolated yet steadfast, standing guard against the elements of time and chaos. Inside, an old man named Samuel sits, sipping coffee while shadows of memories flicker around him. Little does he know that a biker gang, full of bravado and reckless ambition, is revving their engines just a few miles down the weather-beaten road, their minds painted with illusions of invincibility. As the roar of motorcycles fills the air, it pierces the idyllic calm that blankets the countryside. 6 leather-clad figures, tightly knit by an unspoken camaraderie, are poised to wreak havoc. They think themselves untouchable, cruising down dirt roads like kings on forgotten thrones. But behind those tattoos and tough exteriors lie psyches riddled with insecurities, a fact rooted in social psychology. In their search for power and dominance, they've unwittingly trapped themselves in a game they barely understand, a dance of identity built on fear. Consider this: they often define themselves by who they can intimidate. The vastness of their bravado is a direct response to the realities they can't control. Their confidence, like a shield, hides latent anxieties, a well-documented phenomenon in psychological studies demonstrating that those who intimidate often harbor deeply ingrained vulnerabilities. Muffled laughter echoes in the air as the gang approaches the farmhouse, a cacophony intertwined with the rhythm of roaring engines. They dismount, swaggering toward the door, believing they are the bringers of chaos. The leader, a burly figure with a tattooed arm flexed as if it could shatter the very air, pounds on the door. "Hey, old man, you in there." The bravado, thick as leather, is laced with an unsettling urgency. Inside, Samuel's heart remains steady, purring like a well-oiled machine. Over a career that has spanned decades of service, he has learned to read the weather, not just in skies but in souls. At that moment, he recognizes the narrative unfolding outside a group clinging to identity that is as fragile as it is loud. The more they shout, the more they reveal their own shadows, their fears undulating beneath their toughened exteriors. As the door creaks open, it's no mere façade that greets the bikers. It's a man molded by existence, one who has faced the abyss of battle and emerged not just alive but astutely aware. Samuel's eyes, dark as storm clouds yet glimmering with wisdom, still possess the fire of a commander. The room behind him is steeped in history, medals adorning walls, photographs telling tales of camaraderie and sacrifice. "Gentlemen," Samuel begins, his voice an undercurrent of calm. The leader, a flicker of surprise extinguished by anger, takes a step forward. "You got something we want, old man." His tone teeters at the edge of belligerence, fueled by a desperate need for control and respect, an all too frequent backlash against an uncertain life. The very demand echoes the thoughts swirling in the bikers' minds. In a world that has continuously belittled them, they seek to reinforce their own sense of power through intimidation. What they don't understand is that Samuel is not just an old man sitting in a farmhouse. He's a strategist, a tactician whose intuition has weathered greater storms than they'll ever know. He sizes them up, not just their outward toughness but their inner fragility. Samuel muses. It's a psychological hammer, one that cracks open unrecognized fears in the bikers. The gang exchanges glances, uncertainty piercing their bravado for just a moment. They had expected an easy target, an old fool hiding in isolation. What they've encountered instead is a gyroscope of composure, and the ground beneath their feet begins to evaporate. Samuel's words are like the whispers of wind before a storm. They herald a change, a shift from predator to prey, but not in the way they think. "When we fight, it's often a reflection of our inner battles," he continues, his voice imbued with an earnest intensity. "You flaunt your strength like a badge, but real strength lies in understanding." The leader's fists clench tighter, his bravado faltering like steam escaping a punctured tire. "What do you know, old man?" But Samuel stands unmoved, drawing on years spent in arenas far more treacherous than this. Hiding is a choice, but so is bravery. Look around you, what do you see? Engagement, this is what Samuel understands. Each word is a calculated maneuver, a psychological play that seeks to upend their assumptions. He invites introspection and in doing so stirs the unsettling waters of self-reflection. This isn't merely a standoff, it's a reckoning, and Samuel holds the compass. Let's face it, in confrontations like this, the front lines often spill into the realm of the psyche. The bikers were coming for material gain, yet their foray is morphing into something more profound, an exploration into the depths of who they are and who they've chosen to be. Real change rarely springs from grand gestures. It's born out of moments like these, laden with tension and possibility. "No, we're not afraid of you, old man," the leader seethes, but confidence strains under the weight of contradiction. It's a hastily constructed castle of bravado, and Samuel can see it teetering on the brink of collapse. Right there, within that charged atmosphere, Samuel sees the opportunity for transformation. "You're not here for valuables," he retorts, his brow steady as a rock. "You're seeking acknowledgement." With that, tension blazes like summer lightning. The confrontation sharpens, the air thickening with expectations they never intended to carry. In their eyes, the glimmer of fear reflects back a truth they dare not face. The identity they've constructed as bikers, strong and unyielding, is nothing more than a mask hiding deeper vulnerabilities. People often form groups not only to bolster their own identity, but to escape their sense of isolation and essence, beautifully articulated by social psychologist Henry Tajfel's social identity theory. But here lies the hypocrisy. The gang brought insecurity as a chaser to their bravado, desperately clinging to a façade that Samuel sees right through. "Strength without awareness is nothing but a bludgeon," he breathes, like a calm after the storm. With each moment, he unfolds realities that pierce through to their core. "Your aggression speaks volumes of your own fear. Look within, this path won't yield the fulfillment you seek." For every inch of ground the bikers hope to claim through their raucous entrance, Samuel takes a mile through wisdom. The leader stares, jaw clenched, oscillating between anger and vulnerability. Each second stretches the bounds of their patience as Samuel offers them an out. It's a paradox. They came to dominate but stand to learn instead. It pulls the rug from under their bravado, planting the seeds of doubt firmly in their minds. With one question, he unveils the churning seas within them, leaving them at the nexus of decision. The dust of their arrogance mingles with the air thick with uncertainty. Samuel's calm provocation borders on mastery, a commander proficiently engaging in psychological battle. The leader snaps, but the words ring hollow, drumming against the fragile barrier of his shaken self-esteem. Desperation and indignation surge, both serving to fortify the walls he built to protect himself from the truth. But Samuel sees through them, like knowing the tide will turn before it even arrives. He's attuned to the shifting dynamics. So, as the seconds tick past, a new tension weaves its way through the chaos. Samuel's mind races, navigating the complexities of human behavior. He recalls a time in the field when the enemy retreated, not out of cowardice but out of realization. Here he could apply the same principle. He is not fighting these bikers, but fighting for them to discover who they can truly become. "Maybe this confrontation represents a cycle you found yourselves trapped in," Samuel offers, allowing vulnerability to seep into his tone. "The quest for power has blinded you to the beauty of connection. In truth, real strength lies in empathy, understanding." With every challenge, Samuel digs deeper, presenting a mirror to the bikers. "You don't have to perpetuate the cycle of aggression," he encourages, a raw sincerity layered within the storm. Perhaps it was foolish optimism, but Samuel believes in the potential for change even in the most hardened souls. This confidence is shared by psychologists who see glimpses of redemption in the most unlikely of places. To shift a narrative takes patience, but it could salvage lives spinning toward inevitable crisis. But as Samuel gathers his words, the leader takes a menacing step closer. "You think you can lecture us?" The words are akin to a bullet, fired in an attempt to reassert his fading authority, yet they land nowhere near the mark. What follows isn't merely tension but a crescendo, a symphony of fears colliding at the threshold of revelation. For every challenge he issues, another flicker of vulnerability rises within the bikers. Samuel's call isn't for compliance. It's an invitation for liberation from the shackles of their egos. Samuel's voice softens, becoming both a question and a challenge. Time hangs thick in the air, a silent breach developing as the leader's bravado fizzles away. Their foundational beliefs teeter like a house of cards, ready to crumble under the intensity of self-discovery. The farmhouse stands silent as an observer, the echoes of the past swirling through its walls, as if watching the modern war unfold. The cycle of intimidation is now facing a reckoning. Will these hardened bikers face their fears or dissolve into the chaos they once embraced? In this psychological battleground, the power has shifted, pivoting like an elaborate dance, inviting them toward something wholly uncharted. And as uncertainty reigns in the room, the The sound of the wind picks up outside, stirring the dust into little whirlwinds, almost echoing the internal conflicts brewing amongst the bikers. The tide is turning, but which way it will flow remains to be seen. They stand on the threshold of transformation, where challenges can either shatter or mold them into something far greater. What comes next in this electrifying standoff? The tipping point is yet unfurling, caught in the delicate strands of choice. Samuel knows that every moment spent here could redefine them. The question lingers, resonating like a trumpet call. Will they rise, or will they fall deeper into their own chaos? What if the greatest danger isn't the roaring engines and the leathered bravado of a biker gang, but rather the quiet resolve of an old man sitting alone in his remote farmhouse, waiting for a storm that would change everything? Picture this: a seemingly insignificant structure, tucked away within an expanse of golden fields that ripple under the gentle breeze, stands stubborn against the backdrop of the encroaching dusk. Inside, an elderly man named Samuel savors the warmth of his coffee, unaware that the chaos of youth is barreling down upon him, disguised in the form of a tempestuous biker gang. As their motorcycles thunder along the gravel road, 6 men, clad in black leather and reckless bravado, ride with a singular purpose. They are a band of brothers bonded by their disdain for authority, fueled by revved-up engines and adrenaline surging through their veins. Exotic tattoos adorn their arms, a testament to lives lived on the edge, yet somewhere beneath that surface lies an unsettling truth rooted in social psychology. The most aggressive individuals often mask their deep-seated insecurities. To the outsiders watching, this heart-pounding scene appears to be a mere page from an adrenaline-fueled saga waiting to be told. Yet within the hearts of these bikers lies a tumultuous storm of emotion, fear, worthlessness, and the unquenchable thirst for acceptance. Their laughter, loud and brazen, is merely a thin veil that drapes over an abyss of vulnerability they dare not confront. Societies often judge the elderly as fragile and outdated, but what they overlook is that wisdom comes from years weathering battles of not just survival but confrontation and resilience. As the gang approaches the farmhouse, resounding laughter echoes down the dirt path, merging seamlessly with the sound of thundering engines. They dismount, gravity in their steps, expecting this quiet old man to cower beneath their demands, menacingly confident in their misguided strength. "Hey, old man," calls the leader, his voice thick with bravado and contempt. A forehead adorned with tattoos and an upper body embellished with metal chains, he struts with the arrogance of someone who believes sheer muscle can intimidate anyone willing to face him. Inside the house, Samuel pauses, absorbing the clash of noise that rattles his sanctuary. Historically, he has learned to read the vibrations of potential conflict, absorbing nuances that others would overlook. The hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, yet the cadence of his heart beats steadily, an unwavering metronome. Years of military service have trained him to recognize the shift in energy that accompanies aggression. Another miscalculated attempt at dominance, he muses, recalling experiences on the battlefield where bravado didn't hold a candle to the mastery of emotional intelligence. Life, he knows, is steeped in a deeper psychology, one that involves perception, self-awareness, and the often ignored power of vulnerability. He sets his mug down, glancing toward the door, where shadows cast by the waning sunlight flicker like clouds gathering before a storm. When he finally opens the door, it creaks ominously as if ushering in a reckoning. Before him stands a band of men expecting to plunder, filled with smoke and mirrors of their bravado. Samuel observes them, his eyes narrowing slightly as the colors of their personalities swirl before him, each aura a psychological puzzle waiting to be solved. "Gentlemen," he speaks, his voice calm, reverberating confidence murmurings, creating a rich contrast against their aggressive posturing. The gang leader, taken aback for a fleeting moment by the unexpected composure, grits his teeth, anger bubbling beneath his skin. "We're here to make some easy cash, old man. Hand over your valuables and we'll be on our way." But in this request lies an irony. The very conflict that leads them here is an echo of the insecurities bouncing around inside their heads. Social psychologists note that aggression often serves as a mask for fear of inadequacy, fear of not being respected. In his core, Samuel knows that these bikers, while projecting an aura of control, are merely swinging wildly in a dance of desperation. Samuel says, an eyebrow arched with sardonic wisdom. Every word blends psychological insight with philosophical depth, establishing a foundation where the facade of bravado begins to fracture. The bikers share puzzled glances, the leader's bravado wavers. They came expecting fear but are caught off guard by Samuel's brave demeanor. He retorts, stepping forward as if trying to reclaim the authority lost in the wind. "I know everything and nothing, my friend," Samuel replies, holding steady, words like bricks. His calm is an ancient wisdom passed down by experience, creating a sense of contemplation. But each action resonates like a ripple in water. In the flickering light from the setting sun, the scene turns surreal, shadows morphing under the weight of truth. The leader appears increasingly uncomfortable, feeling the walls of hardened bravado begin to close in around him. "You think you can lecture us?" Inside, the leader grapples with a familiar terror, the fear of inadequacy he thought long buried beneath layers of leather and attitude. Samuel's gaze softens, emotions recalibrating the atmosphere. Feeble is a perception distorted by your own insecurities. It's easy to feel empowered when wreathed in bravado, but true strength is neither loud nor overwhelming. It is quiet, steadfast. In each carefully chosen word, he pierces through layers of pretense and challenges the gang to explore their reflections in this uncomfortable moment. If you're searching for respect, know this: demanding it through violent encounters will only leave you feeling emptier. With those declarations, small ripples of awareness race through the gang, like sunlight breaking through a dismal sky. It feels uncomfortable, foreign, yet liberating. As the silence draws out, Samuel senses their resistance faltering. If they'd come expecting mere intimidation, they would leave with seeds of introspection sown in uncertainty. In psychological studies, it has been established that people often create defensive postures that mask deeper emotional turmoil. These bikers, who present themselves as warriors of rebellion, now find themselves caught in their own web of contradictions. "You run on fear and run from truth," Samuel remarks, quickening the unraveling of their beliefs. "It's a tragic cycle, gentlemen. The bravado cannot cover the cracks." Before they can vocalize their next threats, Samuel's presence deepens, occupying the space like an impenetrable fortress built on wisdom. As the air hangs thick with silence, each biker grapples with the challenge posed before them, contemplating their identities and motives. They arrived thinking strength resided in intimidation. However, they're now faced with the paradox of dominance and despair. The leader might still bark orders to mask his own unaddressed fears, but Samuel knows that beneath every yelp of bravado lies an echo of vulnerability begging to be released. The leader bellows, trying to cling tightly to the last vestiges of control. This outburst is fueled by fear spiraling out of control, the desperate need to pound his place into ground. It's the voice of someone peering into the abyss. A threat, once thought imminent, has transformed into a request for acknowledgement. Samuel replies, an amused smile tethering his brows. The juxtaposition sends tremors of confusion through the bikers, and the leader's bravado begins to tire like a flat tire running on fumes. The challenge is alive, simmering, and Samuel knows it will soon reach a boiling point. Moments drag on, tension knitting them together. In that charged atmosphere, the psychological dynamics of dominance and submission dance on a fiery precipice. Samuel, the elder and erstwhile commander, finds himself navigating familiar territory, the battlefield of hearts and souls, armed only with words and wisdom. "Your aggression is a call to arms," he explains further, softening his tone. "You fight to bolster your egos, and yet even the strongest fortress is shattered when the foundation beneath it crumbles. Ask yourself, what do you truly want?" Night begins to blanket the sky as their surroundings darken and winds rustle the cornfields, blending the last rays of sunlight with shadows of thought. Each biker stands, frozen in their introspection, grappling with an internal tempest caught in a struggle between assertiveness and vulnerability. Samuel's calmness is steadfast, contrasting with the unsteady resolution sprawled before him, unraveling like a tightly wound ball of yarn. Suddenly, the leader lets out a frustrated growl. This doesn't mean a thing to us, but the fire behind his words flickers, barely contained beneath a wave of uncertain energy. As it stands, Samuel remains unfazed, a sentinel amidst the chaos, embedded in quiet strength. Perhaps you miss the point. It is not about preservation but transformation. Samuel ventures further, realizing that the essence of combat is not always bloodshed. Sometimes it's soul-to-soul a battle of understanding, where true victories lie in the hearts that can shift. In that encapsulated moment of inevitable conflict, as the weight of possibilities shift like a restless tide, a question lingers unanswered. Will the bikers shatter the armor that protects their vulnerabilities or find solace in the echo of their chaotic past? As bricks of unspoken realization stack among them, Samuel stands ready to guide them toward the precipice of possibility, a firm foundation in a world spinning. The sound of tires crunching gravel echoes as the night descends, foreshadowing a culmination that lingers precariously at the edge. In the theater of confrontation, light clashes with shadow, decisions await, straddling the line between chaos and clarity. Every heartbeat becomes one of potential where redemption or repetition hangs delicately in the balance. And they stand there, on the brink awash in uncertainty and discovery ready for the next move that could irrevocably redefine who they are meant to be. What will emerge from this storm? Only time will tell. What happens when the unassuming fragility of age collides with the raw power of reckless youth? Imagine, if you will, a remote farmhouse isolated yet resilient nestled in an expanse of amber fields, where the whispers of the wind tell stories long forgotten. Army commander named Samuel sips coffee, oblivious to the impending storm brewing just a few miles down the road. Outside, a biker gang roars toward him, their confidence fueled by a dangerous mix of bravado and ignorance. They come into view, a howling force of leather and chrome, laughter erupting like gunfire. 6 hardened figures, each one a reflection of a lifestyle lived on the edge, clad in tattoos and myths. They ride as if they own the road, embodying the very essence of freedom, yet tethered to a narrative of fear. For these men, their powerful motorcycles serve not just as vehicles but as extensions of their own identities, a psychological phenomenon known in social psychology as symbolic self-completion, where individuals authenticate their identities through possessions and behaviors. As they approach the farmhouse, the ground vibrates beneath them, echoing their raucous demands. "Hey, old man." The leader's voice is thick, dripping with contempt. He believes this will be just another job, a quick score, comparatively easy prey, a man too old to defend himself against ferocity. But Samuel's presence is not as fragile as these bikers presume. Inside, he senses the encroaching chaos. His intuition, honed from years on the battlefield, pulls him toward a profound understanding of human behavior. The brashness of the bikers, buoyed by their own group mentality, invites him to unearth their truths like a seasoned archaeologist. He knows that their bravado masks insecurities deeper than they're willing to face. The more they yell, the more they reveal their fears, a reality echoed in numerous psychological studies, which affirm that aggression often serves to shield fragility. As the heavy thuds of fists collide with the door, chaos begins to seep into his sanctuary. Samuel can feel the instability of their strides, the unsteady foundation they cling to, mix of anger and insecurity. He sets his coffee cup down, the ripples on its surface a metaphor for the turbulence ahead. Gathering his steady breath, Samuel pushes the door open. He's not met with jagged smiles or quick fists but with 6 men staring back at him, unsure of what they've stirred. His voice emerges, calm and unwavering, a note of clarity in the discord. The gang leader, momentarily taken aback, glares as if he's facing a ghost. He sneers, but inside, uncertainty stirs like dark clouds before a downpour. He had anticipated weakness, but instead finds a soldier poised for battle, resolved to face whatever storm the fates conjure. Intimidation doesn't require shouting, Samuel replies, holding the quiet confidence of a man who has faced far worse. The tension in the air becomes palpable. Samuel knows there's something to be gained when you flip the script on aggression. The notion of fear lies hidden within these bikers, encapsulated in the very audacity they flaunt. Samuel's presence forces them to confront the reality that they're marching towards self-destruction, not glory. He steps slightly forward, his posture relaxed yet definitive. You stand here demanding respect, but what do you really seek? Each word digs deeper, challenging the psychological foundations of bravado. One of the bikers cuts in, anger flaring as he clenches his fists. The bravado, once a shield, now threatens to block out the light. But Samuel sees inside their hearts, a struggle not often revealed in raw displays of aggression, a truth made evident by their writhing discomfort. "Perhaps I know more than you realize," Samuel said, a hint of challenge threading through his voice. The gang exchanges uneasy glances. The rider's veiled façade is beginning to show cracks, and the bravado melts away in the intensity of Samuel's gaze. "You can bark orders," he says, "but your fear holds you hostage." There's a palpable shift. Samuel, through his years in command, has always believed in probing hearts, revealing vulnerabilities masked by layers of toughened skin. Social psychology tells us that people often cling to stereotypes as shortcuts for understanding one another. Yet here, among this band of bikers, Samuel recognizes the humanity masked beneath. "Listen, old man," retaliates the leader, struggling against the match of wits. But it's less a statement of authority and more a desperate grasp for power slipping through their fingers. Every bark outside their tribe is a reflection of fears they cannot bear, fears of irrelevance, inadequacy, or denial. Samuel leans in slightly, the kind of movement that draws you into a shared space, a connection born not from fear but from genuine interest. He proposes, "What if today isn't about scoring a quick win but facing the truths that hide behind the leather? You could confront your own demons, strip away the bravado. It's a chance to reclaim what you believe power is." With those words, the air grows electric, charged with the weight of revelations that threaten the fragile atmosphere. Samuel understands that the greatest weapon in any confrontation is not force but perspective. In his years of service, he had witnessed men crumble not from bullets but from the crushing weight of unacknowledged fears spiraling from within. The leader snarls, glancing nervously at his crew, their confidence dripping like wax from a burning candle. Yet, they stand staring, uncertain of the next move, trapped between their expectations of aggression and the dawning potential for change. The question lingers like a whisper in the wind, its essence cultivating curiosity. To expose their own vulnerability in front of one another, that is a steep mountain to climb. What lies dormant behind their tough exteriors? What stories remain untold? Strength is not just in the action you take, it's in the choices you make, Samuel presses on, a glimmer of hope igniting in his words. Every cycle of aggression tears away at your soul rather than nurturing it. A subtle, painful truth begins to twist through the air, threading its way into the hearts of the bikers. The tension thickens as the leader begins to falter. His bravado less potent than before, an invisible wall he had hidden behind began to shatter like glass against stone. Samuel feels that the energy is shifting. The words now harbor potential to penetrate minds, perhaps even dissolve fears. The leader retorts, grasping for his defiance, seeking refuge in outrage. It's a familiar response, rooted in fear, the instinctive grasp when confronted with deeper truths one has long avoided. But Samuel notices something else, the chink in the armor, the flicker of uncertainty in that drawn face. His calm intimidation sows seeds of doubt within their ranks as Samuel becomes the anchor amidst the storm. "You're right. I can only speak from my experience," he answers, allowing wisdom to flow. "And what I've learned in my years of confronting adversity is that the strongest among us are often those who understand the depths of their own vulnerabilities. What unfolds next can only be described as an internal quake. The tension that once defined the encounter shifts, reframing the very purpose of the confrontation. The air thrums with unresolved feelings as the leader turns to his gang, searching for affirmation. Fatigue begins to show on their faces, a revelation of a shared burden that they had carried for too long. "Look at yourselves," Samuel says, voice steady with clarity. "You came seeking dominance, and yet here you are listening to a story unfold, a story that could be yours if you allow it to be. All have their battles. I survived wars far beyond physical confrontation." A stirring silence blankets the scene, reminiscent of the eye of a storm swirling overhead, where possibilities linger just outside reach. The bikers stand motionless, gripped not by trepidation but by introspection. The lines on their faces tug taut, revealing deeper textures of emotion than they ever intended to share. In these precious seconds, Samuel senses the tide of transformation rising, the potential swirling around like mist on the horizon. It's never too late to change direction. "You're at a crossroads, gentlemen." The import of his words hangs in the air, pregnant with possibilities. A flicker of acknowledgement ripples through the gang, a convergence of thought as they confront the weight of their egos, a psychological evolution they didn't envision when they set out. The walls of their identities no longer appear as fortresses but thin veils, beneath which they can breathe freely. Yet, as the clouds darken outside, threatening an impending storm, old instincts cling to life with icy fingers, tightening around the leader's heart. "We didn't come here to listen to your spouting," he snaps, a desperate retreat back into aggression. "But only an old man with stories worth listening to," Samuel counters, his voice ringing clear. "Wisdom is not tied to age, it's tied to experience." The challenge echoes, intertwining with the vibrations of the wind, delivering a quiet ultimatum. Time begins to fold in on itself as the bikers wrestle with the echoes of their choices, prepped to dig deeper into the abyss of their fears. Samuel remains poised, knowing that the depth of this confrontation holds terror and transformation in equal measure. The night looms large, filled with uncertainty, where decisions sit poised to redefine futures. The weight of their choice rests heavily on their shoulders, suspended in the breath of potential, a precipice dangling between chaos and clarity. As the storm brews outside and emotions surge within, a question crystallizes, charging the air with tension. Will they choose to humiliate and conquer, or will they find the courage to embrace their vulnerabilities and learn from this unexpected encounter? Only the passing moments will unveil the outcome of this intricate dance, the point where fear and understanding spiral together, each vying for dominance. In the silence that envelops them, confronting the dichotomy of their own existence holds the key to an uncertain future. Samuel knows that within every conflict lies the potential for growth, where the seeds of self-awareness can bloom into something altogether new, if only they dare to embrace it. The storm is approaching, but within that darkness, possibilities flutter like wings, waiting to emerge into the light. And as they stand suspended between revelation and resistance, the next move could change everything. Which path they choose lies on the edge of a knife, humming with the promise of transformation or destruction, the ultimate standoff poised to unveil what it means to truly confront oneself. What happens when a legion of chaos meets the quiet wisdom of experience? Imagine this: a remote farmhouse standing defiantly against the ominous clouds of an impending storm, its weather-beaten walls whispering the tales of solitude. Inside resides Samuel, an old man whose life has been a tapestry of battles fought and won, both against foes and the very nature of fear itself. Little does he know that just outside, a biker gang is charging forward, brimming with unruly bravado, confident in their impending conquest. Their roaring engines reverberate like thunder, each rumble an expression of their desire for dominance, a need to assert themselves as kings of the open road. But for every bike that screams past, there lurks an unsettling truth: the psychological cracks beneath their tough exteriors. These 6 men, flanked by leather and ink, possess a fragile bravado, a mask that shields insecurities simmering just below the surface. Research in social psychology suggests that assertive behavior often obscures deeper vulnerabilities, revealing themselves when pressure mounts. They approach the farmhouse, an imposing fortress in their minds, and prepare for what they assume will be an easy score. The gang leader, a burly figure with fierce tattoos inked deep into his skin, slams his fist against the door. "Hey, old man, open up." The clang reverberates in the silence, an unwelcome intrusion against a backdrop of serenity. But inside the house, Samuel feels the vibrations of the world outside, not as an impending threat, but as a reminder of the chaos he's long evaded. Samuel glances around his home, adorned with photographs from his military past, captures of camaraderie forged in fire and sacrifice. It is a sanctuary filled not only with memories but also with wisdom. He's fought real battles, faced the specters of violence and death, emerging resilient, shaped by experiences that transcend mere survival. With every knock, he can feel the echoes of decisions he's made to confront rather than cower, to engage instead of retreat. "Patience," he whispers to himself, channeling the warrior he knows he still is. With a steady breath, he moves toward the door, understanding that the encounter unfolding before him is a complex dance of power dynamics. The essence of human interaction is often governed by fear beliefs shaped by experiences, layered over time like sediment on a riverbed. Asserting dominance through intimidation often conceals vulnerabilities, and Samuel holds the key to unraveling that paradox. He opens the door slowly, revealing a group of men whose laughter, coarse and loud, fills the air with bravado. For a fleeting moment, the leader's confidence falters as he meets the unwavering gaze of an elder who has witnessed far more than these men could ever imagine. Samuel asks, his voice calm, a steady current against the tide of chaos that has hit his doorstep. "Hand over your valuables, old man," the leader replies, his tone barely hiding contempt, as if he's speaking to a child, believing the mere act of aggression will suffocate any will to resist. It's an act that echoes a deeper insecurity, a need to prove themselves to their peers but masked by arrogance. Samuel detects the sorrow hidden behind the bravado, a truth that mirrors the stories of countless battles fought beyond the battlefield. Samuel's inquiry resonates in the space between them, holding a weight that forces the bikers to reconsider their intentions. What you're seeking isn't merely material gain, you're searching for acknowledgement. The gang shifts collectively, uncertainty fluttering beneath their tough exteriors as defensive mechanisms begin to fray. In that instant, Samuel deftly unpacks the psychological complexities inherent in their actions. His life has taught him that real strength emerges when individuals understand their vulnerabilities. It's a lesson millennia in the making, akin to those who have walked through fire only to rise from it unburnt. The leader snarls, clenching his fists, a classic defensive posture, a protective shell enveloping deeper insecurities that he refuses to face. For every word Samuel utters, the leader tries to reclaim the semblance of control that is so quickly slipping away. The irony of their bravado is lost on them. They are not the invaders they thought they were, desperately clinging to a narrative spun from fear and dominance. "Strength isn't born from violence, my friend," Samuel replies, a softness emerging from his seasoned voice. "You must recognize that aggression belies insecurity. There's a fragility beneath this leather, a depth you seek to shield from the world." Samuel's words dance in the air, like a gentle breeze that stirs awakening. Research into vulnerability shows that revealing one's weaknesses often fosters deeper connections. Instead of isolating through intimidation, perhaps they could forge new paths through understanding and empathy. Another biker interjects slightly softer, revealing the crack in their fortress of bravado. The shield of machismo begins to melt, exposing the churning turmoil beneath. Samuel senses the turning tide flickering in the leader's eyes, a mix of confusion and contemplation. "I am merely a soldier who has faced fears not unlike your own," Samuel states, an unassuming strength woven through his gaze. "I have witnessed men die in battle, not because they were weak, but because they let fear overwhelm them. You stand at a crossroads. You can either choose to fight in vain or confront what you truly seek." Deep in the heart of every warrior lies a human spirit, adorned with dreams and insecurities battling for survival. and the deeper psychological lessons unfold as the bikers find themselves grappling with thoughts previously left unexamined, layers of confidence peeled back under Samuel's steady gaze. Their leader stumbles, voice wavering for the first time. "We didn't come here to discuss life lessons." His composure threatens to shatter as those words slip out, a mix of retreat and realization beginning to dance through his mind. Samuel queries gently, his eyes reflecting a sincerity that pierces the armor they wear. "Each encounter shapes who you are. Each few moments spent in this exchange could turn this misunderstanding into something transformative." For a split second, the leader falters, caught in Samuel's web of inquiry, an invitation to dive deeper into the self. They are a hybrid of fear and pride, and now standing at the precipice of discovery, they begin to experience the complex tapestry of their own identities unveiling at last. One of the bikers challenges, yet his voice trembles against the heavy air. "Perhaps not," Samuel admits, a calm that resonates with the grounded steadiness of the earth itself, "but I know enough about bravado." The moment hangs heavy as each biker contemplates Samuel's insights, a recognition of both vulnerability and resilience entangled in a battle for self-identity. Samuel's calm becomes a beacon, illuminating the path toward transformation they never anticipated. The cracks that once served as shields begin to fracture under the weight of intention. "You've each sought the thrill of power," he continues, his voice a steady anchor amidst the growing storm. "You tear others down to feel elevated, yet in those actions, you relinquish your own power. What if you stepped into your truth instead?" The leader grapples with doubt, his fists unclenching ever so slightly as the invulnerability he clung to weaves itself into raw material, the self. Perhaps it's not about projecting dominance but discovering the real man hiding beneath layers of bravado. As Samuel unpacks their fears, revealing the roots of their behaviors, the bikers begin to stall in their aggression, their edges softened by realization. A soft gust of wind rustles the cornfields outside, reminiscent of the untamed nature that flows through us all. In that fleeting moment, they stand on the cusp of an internal reckoning, swirling chaos intertwined with potential. Samuel extracts the psychological dance, a pathway to healing sewn together in the pursuit of understanding, compassion, and connection. "But what are we supposed to do? Just walk away?" The leader sputters, but beneath his bravado rests a seed of genuine curiosity, a longing to break free from the chains of his self-imposed narrative. The tension thickens, balancing the variables between aggression, fear, and insight. "Or you can seize this moment to redefine yourself," Samuel challenges, each word buoyed by the strength of understanding. "I may be a soldier of the past, but wisdom knows no age." Time elongates as the day fades into twilight, chaotic shadows whispering around them while clarity begins to emerge. Samuel waits, aware that these young men are grappling with choices that will reverberate through their lives, just as they have all claimed their paths under the weight of uncertainty. "You speak like you have been through hell and back," the leader admits, apprehension threading through his voice but with an openness that wasn't there before. "But we've seen our own trials." "You settled on aggression as your choice," Samuel replies, the weight of each syllable following closely behind. "But in that chaos, you've lost your way." As vulnerability blooms within the gang, the cycle of insecurity begins to twist against itself, reshaping their shared identities. The sound of crickets rises in the background, holding a concert for possibility as Samuel continues to shine light into their murk. Samuel suggests, a challenge mingled with sincerity. "Then prove that you can walk away from violence, prove that you can be better. The fight is not external, it's internal." As the night deepens, the bikers are left staring into the void of their identities, grappling with the paradox of reality where strength encompasses understanding. They stand at a threshold that juxtaposes who they are and who they could become confronted by their own unresolved battles. But just then, a rumble of thunder pierces the air, a reminder that the storm is drawing closer. Samuel's words hover in the air, burgeoning with possibility yet anchored heavy with uncertainty. They're at a point of reckoning, facing the reality of their choices against the backdrop of looming conflict. What will these men so well-versed in chaos and aggression choose in this moment? Will they rise to meet the challenge of their own vulnerabilities, transcending the limits of their insecurities? Or will they resort back to the very violence they claim to escape, holding fast to the identities they have worn too long? In the charged silence of that evening, with the heavens poised to open up and rain down fury, the critical decision hangs like a fragile thread, one that could either lift them to newfound heights or send them spiraling down a path of destruction. The choice is theirs to make, and whatever lie ahead could change everything, forever.